This is Beverly Thomassian, and I'm going to talk about disaster preparedness and traveling with diabetes. Welcome. So for diabetes, we want to have an emergency plan in case of fire, earthquake, flooding. It's so important for people with diabetes and their family and support people to have knowledge of this information and make sure they're ready for a pending disaster. Hopefully it never happens, but just in case, so important to have this information and review this checklist. So let's do a poll question. JL is on an insulin pump and CGM and asked the diabetes educator how to best prepare for emergency situations. What is the most critical step to take in case of an emergency evacuation? A, have backup energy source. B, keep insulin on ice. C, know the CDC's info line number. Or D, alert local emergency responders of status. Launch this poll. So JL's on a pump and CGM. They asked the educator how to best prepare for emergencies. What is the most critical step to take in case of an emergency situation? Backup energy source, keep insulin on ice, know the CDC's info line number, or alert local emergency responders of status. Take a few seconds for you to vote. All right, I'm going to close the poll. Thank you so much and share your results. So 67% of you chose the best answer. Have a backup emergency source. Anybody on a CGM and pump is going to need to have a backup energy source to keep their devices lit and working, and to have access to electricity in some way, especially for phones, because so many times we use apps that are on our phones, or we have readers that we need electricity for. So for people living with diabetes and utilizing technology, having a backup energy source like a power pack is so critical in case of emergency and disaster. And of course, we don't keep insulin on ice. We can keep it at room temperature. So that's really helpful for people to know. And we don't have a system of alerting local emergency responders of status, but on social media, if there is a disaster, you can certainly let your people know you are safe, which I think is really important. But besides having a backup energy source, is there anything else that we need to have? And I do want to mention speaking when you cannot speak for you, the medical diabetes identification, whether it's a bracelet, whether it's in case of emergency on a person's phone, whether we fill in that, that heart icon on our phones. Let me see oh yeah, this one, it says help. This one here, let's see if you can see it. You can fill that in and it has all your medical data, and first responders can access that data without having to log into your phone. In case of emergency, they can also access that person who they should contact in case of emergency, or even having identification bracelet. I have one that I wear because I have some health conditions where they know who to call, or that person has diabetes. A wallet card can work too. Any identification especially for people taking insulin. So emergency responders know what action is required. The other thing I'm going to ask y'all to do is prepare a portable emergency kit. And we live in a fire zone, and we've had several huge fires in the past 5 years that have, people have had to evacuate on a moment's notice. So having this portable emergency kit ready to go, your getaway bag, whatever you call it, is so critical. There's a great website, diabetesdisasterresponse.org, and it has a printable list of all the things you need. Listed the following information: type of diabetes, medical conditions, medication, pharmacy contact, previous diabetes medications, reasons for discontinuation, contact info. Yeah, what if you have to leave the house? Contact info for all your healthcare providers, recent labs. If you can, a 30-day supply of medications, blood glucose testing supplies, CGM pump supplies, like extra supplies just in case, including snacks and water and a sharps container. So important. So Do you or a loved one have diabetes and use insulin? Make a plan to stay healthy during natural disasters or emergency. And again, this just reiterates information that or supplies and tools that you want to have available. Your diabetes kit can be stored away in an easy to carry waterproof bag or container to hold documents, information, and supplies. Let's help people to get ready for the worst. A copy of your photo ID, your insurance card, it just goes on and on. I don't have to read that list, but I want to encourage, really whether or not we have diabetes, in case of emergency, having that getaway tub, bag, whatever, ready to go. The American Red Cross is very helpful for people during emergencies. You can call 1-800-RED-CROSS. And I do want to say this is a phone number only for healthcare providers. There's an insulin supply hotline. During a disaster, we can call this phone number, 314-INSULIN, if you know of diabetes supply shortages in your community. This is a hotline for healthcare professionals only, but we know that insulin is a life-saving hormone. So having that available in case of emergency for healthcare providers, if people have to evacuate without grabbing their stuff, is so helpful. There's a lot of different forms you can access. You want to have an emergency diabetes kit ready. I think there's a theme here. People with diabetes can download the Diabetes Disaster Response Coalition Preparedness Plan. The JDRF has the disaster relief resources and Facebook page. Know where to get help. The 1-800-DIABETES phone number is the American Diabetes Association. They can also help you to navigate a disaster situation and also connect with medical support, shelters, and pharmacies. What about travel? So we're moving from disaster to travel. Travel suggestions, such a big deal. And I went to the TSA website to review what do they recommend for people traveling with diabetes. And they highly recommend downloading ahead of time the TSA mobile app. That can be very helpful where you can learn about the restrictions and guidelines and support for people traveling with diabetes. And they say, whenever possible, bring prescription labels for medication and medical devices. And this is not required by TSA, but it does help go through security process more quickly, and then consider printing out and bringing an optional TSA disability notification card. Diabetes is considered a disability, and therefore people with diabetes are protected under the American Disabilities Act. So we want to keep that in mind as we're traveling and asking for resources and support. What about diabetes tech and security? Well, we can look at the training manual for each manufacturer, but to be safe, ask for pat down if wearing a pump, CGM, or both. Now, the American Diabetes Association has great information, and they say, what are some travel suggestions? And this first bullet point, I cannot emphasize enough. Arrive early, especially if you're traveling with insulin syringes and technology. You want to make sure you have smooth sailing through TSA. But some other great ideas here: pack medications in a separate, clear, sealable bag. Bags that are placed in your carry-on luggage need to be removed and separated from your belongings at screening. You all know that. This is so important. Keep a quick acting source of glucose to treat low blood sugar, as well as an easy to carry snack such as a nutrition bar when traveling. Gosh, you all know about delays and maybe not being able to get to a place where there's food available. So having those carbohydrate sources is so important. Carrier aware medical identification and contact information for your providers. Now, what items are allowed when traveling? Insulin and insulin-loaded dispensing products, vials or individual vials, jet injectors, bioinjectors, EpiPens, infusers, and preloaded syringes are okay. Unlimited number of unused syringes when accompanied by insulin or other injectable medications, Lancet meters, testing strips, meter testing solution, insulin pump and pump supplies, and insulin pumps and supplies must be accompanied by insulin. We can carry glucagon emergency kit, testing strips, and sharps containers. Liquids to include water, juice, or nutrition, liquid nutrition, or gels. So this is a special allotment for people with diabetes in case of low blood sugar. CGMs are allowed, and all diabetes-related medications and supplies. So to get this water through, we want to make sure that we have medical identification that says we have diabetes and, insulin and access to our prescriptions. So thank you very much. Access to, the prescriptions to verify that. Okay, in conclusion, we want to be ready for different situations that can happen. Having that getaway bag and the container that's waterproof can be very helpful. Having all of your medical information in one place, just in case that you need to evacuate, and having an extra supply of medications and insulin pump supplies and CGM supplies can be very helpful in case of emergency. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions, we are here to help. You can email us, you can phone us. Here's our website. I so appreciate your advocacy on behalf of people with diabetes and your attention to this information that I've shared during this program. And we're here to support you on your journey. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Beverly Thomassian signing off.